Hey everyone, let's jump right in. If you've ever felt like you're putting in a massive amount of effort, day after day, but you're just not seeing immediate results, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving into an explainer that completely breaks down the hidden realities of personal growth. We're going to explore some really powerful visual metaphors that will absolutely shift how you view your own progress, your setbacks, and honestly, your ultimate potential. Okay, let's get into it.
So, it's a question we've all asked ourselves at some point, isn't it? You know, you're scrolling through your feed, checking in on your peers, and it just seems like everyone around you is effortlessly thriving. They're hitting all these huge milestones, landing promotions, living their absolute best lives. And meanwhile, you might feel like you're just endlessly grinding away. It is so incredibly easy to get sucked right into that frustrating comparison trap. But listen, what if that easy success is actually just an optical illusion?
Section 1. The Myth of Overnight Success.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to completely dismantle the idea of surface-level achievements. I mean, we've all looked at someone who just crushed a massive goal. Maybe they launched a wildly successful app or seemingly came out of nowhere to win a championship, and we think, wow, they are just so incredibly lucky. We see this beautiful, flourishing green tree above ground, but think about what actually anchors it. It's a massive, complex underground network built on hard work, long nights, tears, rejection, haters, empty gyms, and yeah, even being ghosted. When you witness someone's quote-unquote lucky moment, you are completely blind to the thousands of unglamorous subterranean hours of resilience that are actually keeping that tree standing.
Section 2. Progress happens out of sight. And that brings us to the absolute core concept of today's explainer. The most important structural development in your entire life is happening in places where literally nobody else can see it. But before we can truly appreciate our own hidden growth, we have to recognize two very different driving forces in our lives: the superficial, attention-seeking metrics of a loud ego versus the sturdy, unshakable foundation of quiet confidence.
Imagine a plant sprouting these massive, flashy green leaves above the dirt for the whole world to admire. But below the surface, there's almost no substance, just a tiny, fragile root. That is ego. Now, contrast that with confidence. With confidence, the leaves above ground might be small, modest, completely unassuming. But underneath, it is a massive, deeply rooted, incredibly solid foundation. True confidence doesn't need to put on a massive show above ground because it knows exactly what it has built in the dark.
So if we're aiming to build that deep, quiet confidence, we have to understand the chronological process of unseen growth. It generally happens in three distinct phases. First, it is entirely invisible. You are putting in the work and literally nothing seems to be happening. Second, it's barely there. And actually, scratch that. This is the danger zone. This is where most people quit. You might see a tiny sprout of a result that hardly feels worth the grueling effort you've put in, and man, it's tempting to walk away. But if you just push through, you reach the third phase, becoming deeply rooted. I want to reassure you that just because you can't see the results in phase 1 or 2, it absolutely does not mean your effort is being wasted.
Think about a radish growing in a garden. It's a simple idea, but it's profoundly comforting. The message is clear. Progress happens underground. At first, the dirt looks exactly the same, but the seed is active. Then, a tiny, almost imperceptible bulb starts forming. And eventually, a fully formed radish is thriving beneath the soil. Consistent effort is quietly, constantly building the final product completely out of sight. You just have to trust the soil.
Section 3. The Mechanics of Progress.
Okay, so we understand the philosophy of hidden growth, but how do we actually execute it? It comes down to how consistency and burnout play out in real time. Imagine a steady, manageable string of daily wins. Now compare that to burnout, a sudden massive sprint of effort followed by a total crash. Think of it like cramming all night for a test versus studying 20 minutes a day for a month. You just cannot build deep roots through burnout. You have to choose steady consistency. And why is that so crucial? Because when you consistently increase your number of attempts over time, the line of difficulty naturally drives downward. Steady consistency is exactly how you buy yourself enough attempts to make the impossible feel easy.
Section 4. Choosing your own path.
Now, as you consistently build those roots in the dark, you are inevitably going to experience some friction. Imagine a whole crowd of people enthusiastically marching toward the exact same destination, but you realize you just don't fit the mold. The path everyone else is taking, well, it just might not be the one for you.
If you're fundamentally wired differently, trying to force yourself into society's standard mold is going to leave you exhausted, confused, and totally unfulfilled. It is absolutely crucial to detach from the crowd and find the destination that actually aligns with your unique, authentic shape.
Section 5. The only validation you need. Let's be honest. Choosing your own path can be incredibly lonely. When you step away from the crowd, where do you find your encouragement? I want you to really let this thought sink in for a second. Your younger self is cheering for you. Your older self is guiding you with wisdom. When you feel completely isolated on your path, when the results are still totally hidden underground, this is the internal framework that will keep you moving forward.
Picture a timeline of your life. Right in the center is you, right now. Behind you is the child you once were, throwing their hands up in absolute awe and excitement at everything you've already survived and achieved. And ahead of you is your future self, leaning on a cane, holding the deep wisdom and peace of knowing that everything is going to work out. You are never truly alone. You are fully supported and bracketed by the beautiful continuum of your own life.
When you really lean into this internal framework, it leads to an undeniable transformation. Think about the baseline version of you. Now, imagine yourself when you actually truly believe in yourself. The contrast is stark. Suddenly, there's this massive, glowing, radiant aura. This is exactly what happens when a person finally shifts from desperately seeking external approval from the crowd to trusting their own internal foundation. You literally begin to radiate an entirely different kind of energy. And when you are leaning against the glass, staring at your own reflection, you realize something profound. That person looking right back at you, that is the absolute only person whose validation you need. When you are building those roots, staying consistent, and walking your own path, the person in the mirror is the only judge that matters. Make them proud.
Section 6. Perspective is everything.
All right, so we've talked about deep roots, consistency, and internal validation. Now let's talk about the lens through which we view our inevitable flaws. It is way too easy for us to hyperfixate on where we fall short. Imagine staring at an umbrella and literally drawing bright red circles around every tiny chip, dent, and flaw in the fabric. But if you zoom out, that exact same umbrella is out in a heavy storm and it is perfectly, effectively shielding the space beneath it from the rain. If you only spot the flaws, you completely miss the fact that your foundation, your effort, and your growth are actively protecting you and serving a vital, beautiful purpose.
And that leaves us with a final, provocative question to carry with you today. Will you spend your energy constantly circling and hyperfixating on your own flaws, or will you choose to zoom out, look at the storm, and truly understand the good that your hidden roots are doing? Remember, your real progress is happening underground. Stay consistent, trust your own path, and be your own biggest validator. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep growing, and I'll catch you on the next one.